Whether you are still raising kids, you are on disability, you are retired, all of us could use a little extra cash at times. Today, we're going to talk about working some seasonal part time jobs that are temporary into your schedule to bring in a little extra cash. I hope you will stick around. Depending on your abilities to do certain things, you may have to tailor your side hustles to your strong points. But I have a bunch of side hustles today that you may not have thought about. And some of these you can do when you still have kids at home because I've done them for extra money when I had a full time job. And some of them are things that you can do if you're on disability or if you're on a fixed income and you're drawing Social Security, or maybe you're like me and you're in between quitting your job, early retirement, and Social Security starting, and you just want to be able to bring in a few dollars here and there. So I live on a low income. I retired early almost 2 years ago at 57. I look for extra things I can do for a few dollars here and there that don't cut into my free time too much because I love my free time. That's why I retired early. And I do like bringing in a few extra dollars though, because that makes me feel more confident that money's not just going out, that it's coming in as well. So I'm going to use a bunch of examples of people that I really know that do these things, or I've done them myself. The first one is a farmer's market. Now, my husband's cousin, she makes sourdough bread and she sells it at a farmer's market that they have on Saturdays in her small town. I also have a former neighbor that makes breads and sells them at their local farmer's market. Now, you can sell pies, you can sell all kinds of things, you can sell extra produce from your garden. And a lot of these farmers markets in these little communities, they don't charge you. One of the places that I used to work that was a little over an hour away from here, on Friday evenings, we could just set up on Main Street for free and sell whatever we wanted to without a permit, without any extra fees involved, and we could just sell it right there and bring in some extra cash. The second one is craft fairs. Now, I'm not super crafty, but the 55 and over park that I've stayed in the last 2 years, they have craft fairs from people from woodworking to games to historical antique types of things that they've added solar lights to. I mean, sewing, jewelry, there is just endless ideas when you walk through that craft fair. Now, this is one I have done several times in the past. I'm not crafty, but I sell Avon. And so I would buy extra stock and I would go and have things that were stocking stuffers or seasonal items and set up my own table. I've done this many times over the years as I was raising children and brought in a little extra money, even though I did have to pay for my space for that day or two that the fair was going on. The third one is working the poll booths on election day. Some of you have heard me talk about this one before. I did this when I was working. I would take a vacation day. I would get paid vacation pay, and I would work the election booth and get paid for that day. So that was a way for me to double dip and get double pay on that day that would help when I was raising children. So just because some of these are seasonal or just maybe a day or two here and there, you can always take a vacation day and plan for that if you need the cash so that you can have some extra money. This was always a blessing every time that I would get that extra check. A lot of times it comes in November, so it was extra Christmas money when I was raising kids. There are lots of people over 55 that do this job. In fact, my aunt sits on the election board with me in the same precinct, and she's 86. The fourth way is working at the state fair. I have done this now 2 years in a row. And even if you're on disability, which I'm not, you are allowed to earn up to $1,600 a month. And it's a little bit more than that, but you can check for yourself. But you can earn up to $1,600 a month doing some paid jobs. And so a lot of people that are working the state fair with me as ticket takers, as ticket scanners, as housekeeping, as food service people, there's so many jobs at the fair. They are earning this on disability, and it's keeping them from going over their amount that they're allowed to earn. So this is something you can sign up for. When I walked into training the other day, most everybody's 55 and over, but for most of us, we're 55, 65, 75, or 80 working these jobs. There's even people there that take off vacation every single year to work the state fair because they love it so much. And they kind of are doing what I did with the election. They're taking vacation days and getting paid, and then getting paid for the state fair on top of it to give themselves some extra money. The fifth way is selling online. Now, this is something I've been doing because I've been decluttering. I don't buy things and flip them. I am just trying to get rid of things in my house that I feel like I want to maybe get a little bit of money out of. I've also donated a lot, but I primarily use eBay. Now, there's other people that use Poshmark and other selling platforms, but I primarily use eBay. But it's a way for you to get in a few extra dollars and also get rid of extra things that you're not using. The sixth way is one that one of our viewers commented that they do. They work conferences at some of the colleges that need help just on a conference day. Maybe they need help laying out materials on the table, checking people in, giving them their name tags, things like that. So that is a way for them to earn some extra money, and they get on the list at the college, and then the college calls them when they're going to have a conference, and they plan accordingly. So I thought this was a really great idea of a way to earn extra money. It's not one I had thought of before or one that I have done. The seventh way is one that I do even now. I do mystery shopping. I've done this over the years. Even while I had children at home, I would work them into my schedule. I've done lots of different mystery shopping. I did it even when I lived in Texas. I did apartment shopping services. I've done gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants. So it's a way to bring in a little bit of extra money, and they also give you a limit of what you are to purchase and reimburse you. The eighth way is also from a couple of our viewers that sell eggs from their chickens, and it helps them provide chicken feed. It also helps them so they can get free eggs, and so that their extra eggs are taken out of there so that they don't have to worry about storage or trying to figure out a way to use a lot of eggs if they have surplus. This is also one that I've done in the past when I had chickens. I no longer have chickens. I didn't want tied down. They need watered a lot. They need a lot of supervision. So you have to have someone to watch them and take care of them when you're gone. And chickens just require so much work that I decided to sell my chickens a long time ago. They also sell tinctures and some of their canning, which again, some of those could be done at your farmer's market or your local craft fair. The ninth way is one that I really don't use too much because I live in the country and it's usually not very beneficial for me. But a lot of people in the city still do it, and that is yard sales. Maybe they go together with a friend and do a group yard sale, or they just do an annual yard sale. But it's a good way to bring in some extra money and get rid of some of those unwanted items. It just takes a lot of work and a little bit of planning and a little bit of back work, which is why I don't do it very much, because it's just a lot of lifting and putting up tables, taking down tables. So that's one that's kind of gone off my to-do list. This is one that you don't hear about quite as much as we used to, but a lot of those resale shops that are for profit, they also allow consignment. And one of our viewers takes things to the consignment store, they sell it for her, and then they keep a portion and they give her a portion. And it's a way for her to get rid of some of the things without having to go through all of the trouble and let someone else do it for her and bring in a little extra money. The lady that works in my booth at the state fair with me is a former teacher. So this is one that she does. She does tutoring still on the side for a couple of kids. But substitute teaching is also one that you can do if you're retired or if you want to bring in a little bit of extra money. It's not one that's real easy to do if you have another job, because they're going to call you probably on a day that you're already working because somebody called in sick. But my father in law did this for many, many years after he retired from two different jobs. In fact, he just quit doing this at 81. And of course, I have to mention doing YouTube for extra cash. Now, I did YouTube for over 2 years before I started getting paid. You only get paid once you've reached $100. So, there for a while, I was only getting a check maybe every other month, even. So, you do have to put in some time ahead of time before it starts paying off. But it can equal another little part time side gig that you can use for extra cash. The 13th way that you can bring in some extra money on your own terms and whenever you want to work is doing some delivery services. There are stores that will hire you for delivery. There is also food delivery. And I know a lot of people do this to just bring in a little extra cash when they need it. This is one I have never done. I don't really consider that I would ever do it because I live in the country. So delivering from a restaurant or from a store out here would not be possible. One of my family members started doing this on the weekend to bring in some extra cash, and that is being an Uber driver. This family member has a full-time job but has decided to put in some time on the weekend to bring in extra money. The 15th way that you can bring in some extra money is by doing some seasonal refereeing. Now, depending on your ability to stand for a long time or even run, I had a cousin that refed basketball well into his 70s. But there's a lot of men that have retired that do it for baseball in the summertime or softball. And there's also a lot of them that will do like rec ball on Saturday for either volleyball. I've had friends that have refed volleyball tournaments. So these are a great way to bring in some extra money. They usually provide you some training before you do this so that you are not going in blind. But it's a great way to work part-time hours and get paid per game by refereeing. The 16th way that you can bring in some extra money or maybe even get free rent is to be a tour guide. Now, it depends on where you live, or maybe you're retired like me and you do some seasonal living somewhere else in a warmer climate. State parks offer this a lot where you can have free rent to live there and maybe do some things for the state park. And this gentleman rode a golf cart every day, took passengers, took them the loop around the birding center, and told them a little bit about the state park and was able to park his RV there free. And then when that job was over, which was seasonal, and he did it every year and had been doing it for years, he had another one that he went to right after that for more free rent in another area. Down where I live at in the 55 and over community, we have women that work in the office there and get free rent for their RV by working in the office. We even have a camp host down there, even though it's not really a campground. It is a 55 and over park. And one gentleman goes and checks out lawnmowers to us and makes sure that they're checked back in so that we can mow our lot. So there's tons of little jobs like this you can get to get free rent if you want to travel seasonally. The 17th way that you can do some part-time work and not do it all the time is to babysit or even be a substitute at daycares. They need substitute workers just like schools do. And a lot of us don't think about some of these jobs that are right there in front of us. I worked as a substitute for a daycare center when I was in between jobs at one point. And they would call me when someone called in sick and they needed someone else in one of the buildings for one of the ages. And I would go in and do a day of helping take care of kids. And it was such a joy. So think outside of what is normal. As we go by and we drive by some of these businesses, think about how it would be to run that business and whether or not they might need substitutes on some days, maybe even if it's only a couple of days a month to work in their little shop so that their regular people can get a weekend off. There are lots of jobs out there, and many times you'll hear on these YouTube videos a lot that require you to be online savvy. I wanted this video to be different. I'm not super online savvy, and that's why I wanted to give other options. I even had a friend that did pet transport. Now, you hear about pet sitting, but not pet transport. So when people breed dogs and sell them, sometimes they buy them and they're several states away. And he would transport these dogs to their new owner. And he did that and made a living at it and really enjoyed it. So think outside the box. What is out there that you could do part time to bring in some extra money if there is a need? I hope you have enjoyed this video and maybe it has got you thinking about some things you can do on the side to earn some extra money. I always enjoy the time that you spend with me. Thank you for listening so much. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back for another video.